Hello and welcome to another episode of Fundy Tidings. I'm your host Jay Remer, and with me today are two people from the Ross Memorial Library. Leslie Parham is a library assistant and Kirsten Clark is a member of the board. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming down. You know, when I went to the library a few weeks ago, you were so kind and enlightened me so much on the activities that are going on there that I had no idea about. So I figured if I didn't know about them, I wouldn't likely be alone, and so I invited you to come on the show to help others find out what's going on at this amazing place. So how about if you could give us a little background on the library, its origins, and how lucky we are to even have one in the town.
Well, Jay, the library, St. Andrews has actually had a library for about 200 years in one form or another, but in its current form, it was became a permanent place on the because of a bequest from Henry and Sarah Ross. So that is what sort of started the library permanently. Since that time, there have been other groups that have come on board. In 1981, the library became part of the provincial system, which means that we have access now to all of the resources of the provincial library system, both online and their print collections, which you can get through holds. So this has expanded things considerably. It also means that we also have access to the online resources of the New Brunswick library system, including e-books and the Children's Tumble Books program, which is an audio-visual reading program for kids. So a lot of resources.
So does that mean if I come into the library, for instance, and want to get a book, and it's not in the library, you can order it from another library and they'll send it down and I can borrow it that way?
Yes,
well, that's
absolutely.
Fantastic. I mean, that does expand things. I mean,
Yes.
that really, the sky's the limit.
It is, and there are also programs for people who can't get into the library where the books are delivered to them. So it's basically a resource for absolutely everybody of all ages. And as you say, it's really quite amazing what the breadth of things that there are in the library that are available to the patrons. Not only do we have books and CDs and DVDs and magazines, you know, the things that people often think of with the library, but also in the spring there's a seed catalog where you can come in and get seeds, borrow seeds, and use those in your garden. At tax time, we provide space for tax clinics for senior citizens and students. All sorts of things, really.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it is unusual for a town of 1,800 people to have a public library. It really, I just think it's a gem here.
And we're very lucky in that we have a lot of support from the town of St. Andrews. They support us with the structure and with some of our budget. We also have some support through the trust that the Rosses provided, which we share with the Ross Museum as well.
Right.
But yeah,
That's fantastic. Well, I know that the programs are the heart of the institution, and when you mentioned to me initially about a write your story kind of a program. This is a memoir writing project, and I said, sign me up. So I think it's fantastic. It's so helpful, and you don't realize how helpful it is until you get older, because you take, oh yeah, you know, it's just my life. But when you get to be, you know, after a certain point in time, it's like, yes, and I think I want to tell people about it. It was interesting. So tell me about this amazing memoir writing project.
So it's a really unique program because it's actually memoir writing for non-writers. So the beauty of that is that people often are intimidated by the thought of writing their own story. And the idea with the memoir writing program is the title is My Life in 10 Pictures. So bringing forward 10 examples, they can be from stages of your life, and that prompts a discussion about that time in your life. So we could have something that starts in early childhood, and it could be the story of your family dog, and then maybe early elementary school years, and it could be a picture of your favorite bike that you craved and wanted and prayed for and finally got in grade 3, and so on. And so it's a really lovely idea of helping people to craft their story through using pictures as prompts. And we're starting in January of 2025, and it will be a perennial program. It will continue. This is a pilot that's funded by the Fundy Community Foundation, and it's also a partnership with the high school. So when you join us, there will be also high school students who will join us, who coming together in as two populations helps them recognize that older adults have a story to tell, and it's interesting, but also an opportunity for them to share their story, because lots of people don't look at young students and think that they have a story to tell. So it's going to be a really interesting partnership.
I think it sounds fascinating, and you know what I like probably the most about it is that it brings generations together. And it's not like there's a problem with that, but there's not enough opportunities, I don't think. And as much as we think that the kids learn from us, I'm astonished, maybe it's just me, but I'm astonished at how much I learn from just talking to kids just any day of the week. It's just like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So I think, and it's also, it's important, I think, in this community where we are a multi-generational community, and we are proud of that. This program works out really fantastic. So I think that's fantastic. Now, what about the adult reading group? What is that? Or the adult book club?
Yes, so the book club, there's lots of book clubs in St. Andrews. There's no shortage of book clubs in St. Andrews. However, the library wasn't a host of a book club, and so we have now host a book club. It's actually been really successful. There's lots of newcomers to the town of St. Andrews and surrounding area, but not only that, people who find it more comfortable to be in the library setting to be part of a book club. But we have a book we pick together, just like any other book club. What's been amazing to me is people come prepared with notes, Jay. They have they've sat down and written some summary of the book that we read for that month, and then we have really lively discussions. We start off with the sort of, what's everybody's overall opinion, and our last book, which I won't share the title of, but was widely disliked by the group, but that we still were able to talk for almost 2 hours about the content of that book. So it's a lot of fun. The best part of the book club at the library is you can come in and pick up a book. You don't need to be a member of the book club. There's no membership. It's not closed. You can pop in, and if you're a seasonal person and you're just here for the summer, or you're just here for the winter, you can come for those 3 or 4 months, participate in the book club, and then come back when you return. So it's a really flexible space, but it's been a lot of fun to lead. It's been a lot of fun to host.
The thing that I think is interesting is that you provide a space for people to be able to communicate with one another in a friendly way. This isn't a job, and it's not. There's not a political, campaign. It's just a chance for people to get together and chat, and that's not easy these days. It's not as easy as it used to be. But I think it's a great opportunity. How many people, do you have a limit to the number of people in the book club, or is there, or you haven't gotten to?
We haven't got to the tipping point yet.
Good, that's good. So plenty of people who. Yeah,
and I think the library, if we found we exceeded our expectations for any of our groups, we would offer more. In all honesty, we're very flexible in that way. I just want to pick up on something you said, and I want to just add to that, is that the library really is a community hub. It really is a place where people gather. We also have services that we provide to the community that are so important in a small town. Things like printing, photocopying, faxing for people. A lot of that work that we do are for newcomers or older adults or people who don't have access to the internet or to computers. So it breaks down a lot of those barriers that people have to access things that are only available online.
And with the change in technology, sorry to interrupt,
That's
but
okay.
with the change of technology, I remember when we opened in 1998, every room had a dedicated telephone and fax line.
Yeah.
Every room.
Yeah.
And now, none of them do.
Yeah, try and find a fax.
Right,
Yes,
and
yes.
I don't know that I'd be able to send a fax.
Yeah.
So being able to come to the library to keeping up with technology as well as, any kind of administrative services that have gone by the wayside that you still have is fantastic.
And the public still needs those services. Like a lot of things like insurers or doctors' offices, they still require things to be faxed. I think there's a perception that's still safer to do. But so that's something we can provide because there really isn't a lot of places to do that. We also help people with technology.
A lot.
Do you?
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't say too much about that, but people come in with their tablets and they want to avail themselves of some of the apps that we have, like Tumblebooks and Libby, which are online reading tools, either audiobooks or e-readers. So we help them with that, but sometimes we're helping them with their tablet and their phone, and it's completely unrelated to library services. But we're happy to do that. We're quite patient people at the library. We don't mind helping.
And very knowledgeable.
I have found that people in the technology world have the patience of Job. I don't know how they do it. I get on the phone with these, and I don't know. I thank them every time they give me another clue. It's like, how? You're so patient. Anyway, they're used to it, so, but it's a nice trait for them. Now tell me about the speakers series, because that's an interesting one where people can go and hear speakers talk about various topics.
Again, we started this fall. We've had a number of speakers, and it's around every other month. Most recently, we had someone come talk about powers of attorney, which is a subject not a lot of people think about, advanced care planning and powers of attorney. It was for all ages. It's not just for older adults. Everyone should be thinking about their advanced care plan. And in fact, there were some younger people who attended that session. We try to partner with community members who have an area of expertise. And in this case, we partnered with Emma Keach from the Seniors Homes Without Borders. Sorry, Emma, but she presented on that topic, and then we kind of go completely in a different direction. We had someone speak about growing mushrooms at home, so growing their own mushrooms in containers, and that was fascinating. And in fact, the people who attended that, we ended up staying an extra hour to talk about that topic. So we're open to anyone who has an area of expertise that would like to speak at the library or present at the library, but we want it to be broad and open to all ages.
I think that's fantastic. And so do you have this once a week or once every couple of months? Or
once every other month right now, but in between there we have things like we just had poetry reading on Saturday. We had, almost 25 people come to the library to listen to a local author. Laura Brown has released a new book, and she had 3 friends with her, and she read from her latest book of poetry, and it was really well attended. So I'd like to say there's almost always something going on at the library.
Well, there are a lot of authors in town.
Yeah, it's true.
And there are a lot of authors who come to town, and it might be short readings are something that a lot of people enjoy.
Yes.
And so because I've often thought, well, why don't we do an opening at, a book signing or something like that? Is that the kind of thing that you would entertain? Because it does draw people, and if you want that kind of activity at the library, it would be
We've certainly had a number of book launches at the library. It's been quite a popular location for, obviously, for that sort of event. And yes, it definitely brings people in. And Laura's book launch being an example of that. So,
I think
yeah.
So the thing that I think that was the most unusual for me to discover about the library was this object lending.
Yes.
And I thought, well, this is interesting. And then you told me about it, I thought, I wanted to still know more. So
it is fabulous. It's
I
absolutely
bet.
fabulous. Yes, it's something that people don't think of necessarily with libraries, but it's becoming more and more common in a number of library systems. But yes, you can borrow things from the library as well as borrowing books.
One of them was this bag of large.
It's called Jenga or Tumble Tower.
So
yes.
I've seen it, but I've never. And you said, well, you should have one at the Windsor House. You can borrow one to see how you like it. And I thought, perfect, because there are a lot of people that might want to have one just for a party. You know, and then take it home. They'll never use it again. And that is fascinating. So what kind of range of objects, though? Do you do chainsaws, or is it more?
Yes, but we're open. Yes. No, but there's a metal detector, which is very popular. If somebody has lost something, or just to test it out on the beach and see if they can find treasure. So there's the metal detector. There is, one of the other things we brought along today was snowshoes. So that's been quite popular with some of the students at the community college, because they don't necessarily have snowshoes, but they'd like to test them out in the winter.
Seen snow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they will test out the snowshoes and borrow those, and that's a lot of fun. There's a ukulele if you feel musical and you've always wanted to try that. A fermentation kit if you want to make kimchi. And the library is open to suggestions. We're always open to new ideas for things that people might want to borrow. But it really is quite amazing what's there already. Yeah.
Do you have games, or like board games, and that like Monopoly and Trivial Pursuit?
Chess. We have chess. We have a number of things. Which actually, when you were talking about Jenga, I was thinking of a grandmother who came in, and the grandkids were descending upon her home in the summer, and so she borrowed everything that was for play. So we have a couple of things that are like paddle games with little funny balls, and the Jenga game, and we have skateboards, Jay, if you would like to take up skateboarding.
I did that as a child. Nobody believes it. They said, what do you mean you skateboarded? I said, yes, I did.
What's pickleball?
Pickleball
rackets as well, because that's very popular in
Very
town
popular.
now. But you want to try it out? Well, we've got the rackets, and you can try it out. You don't have to invest in new rackets until you decide that that's actually the game for you. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So what about the children's activities? I remember as a child, I couldn't read very well, and I had a learning disability that nobody knew what it was, and I still don't know what it was, but I was so slow that I just said, I'm just not going to do this. But I found pleasure in the library helping the librarian shelve books. So I learned the Dewey Decimal System, and that to me was as interesting as reading a book. I'm sure that that's not the norm or something that you're pushing, but so what are the kinds of child activities that you offer?
Well, there's really programs for all ages. So I'm a grandma, and I look after my little granddaughter a few days a week, and she and I thoroughly enjoy going to the library together, and there is a preschool program that's offered on Wednesdays at 10:30. And that involves singing and activities and crafts and stories, of course, in French and in English. So they get stories in both languages. And the daycare center actually often participates as well. So
I was wondering, because I'm going to be chatting with Courtney from the daycare center. So I was wondering whether or not that sounds great.
Yeah, it's a fabulous program. And that is one that's been ongoing for quite a long time. I took my own kids there to that program when they were young as well.
What kind of feedback do you get from the kids and from the parents about these programs? Because you're doing a lot of parenting, which is positive. I mean, that's what schools and libraries can supplement at home. How is the feedback coming?
We get great feedback.
Yeah.
With the preschool program, there are caregivers along with the children, so it's they're not entirely sort of abandoned by the caregivers and under the care of the library staff at that point. So, you know, I go with my granddaughter, and I participate as well. I'm there for her. But I can tell you, Maisie loves that program, and when it's Wednesdays, she knows it and she wants to go. So it's a very positive feedback that we get, I think.
And how have you noticed, actually, with your granddaughter, that it's improved the quality of her education?
Well, I think the fact that the children sit down and listen to a story for that period of time in both languages, that's very good a preparation for as you're getting older and going into school, when you have to sit and you have to listen as part of that. And it develops this love of going to the library and love of the books. And after the program is over, all of the kids want to hang around and have a look at the books on the shelves and take out books to take home. So it's a definite draw for that, and it's definitely developing a love of the library and a love of reading, which has to be a good thing when you're starting out. You know.
How, just out of curiosity, how early on in reading do kids learn to sort of understand what they're reading and chat about it? Is it something that happens in the 7th grade, or are there kid book clubs, is I guess the question.
Well, we have a book club called Hack 'em Attack, and that's a partnership with Vincent Massey Elementary School, and so that's sort of a youth book club. We also have the Summer Reading Club, which each summer we have a couple of summer students who help with that program, and children are encouraged to read a certain number of books throughout the summer, and they complete a passport, and it's very interactive, and there's usually a theme. So I would say children are, if they're even an infant and you're reading to an infant, they're starting to identify the picture being related to the word, or at least to the sound of the word. So I don't think there's anything such as too young. And I think that I have been really inspired by working at the library to see how many children still love to read. Yeah. And that's been a great joy. I haven't spent a lot of my life working with young people, but this has been a great joy, spending time with young kids in these programs and seeing them just in rapture while you're like, I feel like you, Jay, on this show. I feel like I have their complete attention, and I get to be a little dramatic, and they just are in love with the storytelling aspect. Plus, each of these programs often has an element of a craft or science attached to it. So we might do something like we're making something like origami, and we might be talking about that, and they're learning the fine motor skills of folding paper, or we're actually mixing things to make their favorite thing, which is slime. And but that's a science in itself, and then children learn if they add too much of one of the ingredients, then their slime is not going to turn out the way. Would you like to learn to make some slime, Jay? Because we can have you come on Slime Day.
I could be the guinea pig.
Okay.
Let's see how he does it. Anyway, it's such a great array of programs for kids and adults. And I think that as these programs develop, especially the memoir writing one, I want to see if we could maybe revisit this whole event and see how it goes, because there'll be new things coming along too.
Oh, constantly.
And I think it's fantastic. I very much appreciate that you've come down to talk with me, and also I'm sure our readers do. So thank you very much. And thank you for watching the show today, and I look forward to seeing you again on another episode of Fundy Tidings.